everyone, it's Emma from MSC Makes, and this is the final episode in my beginner's sock knitting series. If you've not seen the first two episodes, I'll pop links to those in the description box, so be sure to check those out. In this final part, I'll be showing you how to work the toe of your sock and how to kitchen stitch the ends together. So I've cut my yarn ready here because I'm going to be joining my contrast colour. Obviously, if you're working your sock all in one colour, there's no need to cut your yarn. You should just leave it still attached. And what I'm going to do is weave in this end that I've just cut here as I go in the same way that I've shown previously. So I'm going to arrange my needles here, ready to start the first round. And I'm going to just loop the end of that yarn over there as so. I'm then going to take my new colour that I'm going to be joining on. I'm just going to loop that round there. Again, we let that back yarn fall there and it just drops off and we've knit our first stitch. Now in this first round for the toe, I'm actually going to work my decreases. So for the next part, I'm going to work a slip, slip, knit. And exactly the same as we have been doing before, I'm going to slip that first stitch knitwise, slip the second stitch purlwise, and then I'm going to knit them both together as so. We're now just going to knit across until 3 stitches before the end, and I'm going to continue weaving in the end of this yarn. So again, I'm going to loop it over as so. And knit that stitch, knit the next stitch as normal, and the next stitch we're going to weave in that yarn again, and I'm going to continue to weave in that yarn for about 8 to 10 stitches in total. So I'm going to go ahead and knit until I'm 3 stitches before the end of the row. So I've now got 3 stitches before the end of this row here, all the stitches that are on my first needle. And what I'm going to do is knit 2 stitches together and then knit that final stitch as normal. I'm going to turn my sock and you can see here it's slightly loose where I've weaved in that end. So I'm just going to give this yarn just a small tug there to neaten it up. And I'm just going to repeat exactly the same thing on the other side of the sock. So we're going to knit the first stitch, we're going to slip, slip, knit, slip that first one knitwise, slip the second stitch purlwise, and then work them both together. And we're then going to knit our way across until 3 stitches before the end of the row. Now that we're 3 stitches before the end of this row, I'm just going to knit 2 stitches together and knit that final stitch. So we've decreased by 2 stitches on each needle. And we're going to turn our work, ready to work the next round. And the next round is really simple. We're just going to knit right around, no decreases with this round. So you go ahead and complete that and then I'll show you what to do next. And if you like, you can sew in, weave in, the other yarn tail as you go. So I've just completed that second round by knitting all the way around the sock. And to complete the toe, it's really simple. We're just going to repeat those 2 rounds until we've decreased to the correct amount of stitches. So I cast on 64 stitches originally, and I'm going to decrease down to 14 stitches on each needle. So that's 28 stitches in total. If you've knit a different size, then check out the description box to see what you'll need to decrease down to. So I'm just going to show you how to do the decreases on this part of the toe one more time, and then I'm going to meet you back here. So again, to work the decreases, we're going to knit that first stitch as normal. We're going to slip, slip, knit those next 2 stitches, slip 1 knitwise, slip the second one purlwise, knit them both together, and then we're going to knit across the rest of the needle until we get to 3 stitches before the end. Once you've worked across until you have 3 stitches left, we're going to knit 2 together, knit that last stitch as normal, turn our work, and we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So we would knit 1 and slip, slip, knit across until the last 3 stitches, knit 2 together and knit that last stitch. For the round after that, we're going to just knit plain. So we're alternating 1 round of decreases and 1 round of knitting plain until we've decreased to the correct amount of stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'll show you how to finish off your sock with the Kitchener stitch. Once you've decreased down to the correct number of stitches, you should find that your toe looks like this. So I've now got 14 stitches on each needle, and I'm ready to graft the toe together, and that basically means we're going to seal up this hole here. So I've got my sock with the front of the sock facing me. The working yarn is on the back needle and it's on the right hand side, and I'm just going to cut a length of yarn. You want to make sure that you've got a good amount because you're going to be working it through the stitches and you don't want to run out. And I'm just going to thread that onto a darning needle. And I'm going to talk you through the whole of the Kitchener stitch, so don't worry, this is another thing that some people find a bit tricky, but we're going to take it nice and slowly. So we're going to begin. Make sure that your yarn is in between both needles here, it's not tangled round or anything like that. And we're going to insert our needle purlwise through the first stitch on the front needle, and we're just going to pull it through. And then on the back needle, we're going to pop our needle through knitwise, and again just pull that through like that. And I'm not sure if you saw, but I just carefully arranged my yarn there so that it went in between the needles because we don't want it to get taffled round. The next step is to take our darning needle and to insert it through the first stitch on that front needle knitwise. And this time we're going to take that stitch and we're going to carefully pop it off the needle. We're then going to insert our darning needle purlwise through that next stitch on the front needle, but we're not going to pop it off, we're going to leave it on there. We're then going to insert our darning needle purlwise through that first stitch on the back needle. We're going to pull that through and we're going to slip that stitch off. We're then going to insert our darning needle into the next stitch on the back needle knitwise and pull it through, but we're going to leave that stitch sitting on the needle, and we're going to repeat that all the way across. So on the front needle, we're going to insert it knitwise and slip that stitch off. We're going to insert our darning needle purlwise through the next stitch, but we're going to leave it on the needle. On this back needle then, we're going to insert it purlwise and slip that stitch off, and we're then going to insert our darning needle knitwise onto the next stitch on the back needle. We're going to leave it sitting on the needle, and then if you just give your yarn a little bit of a tug, it should start to neaten up there. So again, on that front needle, we're going to insert it knitwise and slip it off, and then purlwise on the front needle, but leave it sitting on still. On the back needle, purlwise, purlwise, and slip it off, and then knitwise and leave it on the needle. Back to the front now, knitwise and slip that off the needle, purlwise, and leave it on the needle. On the back needle, purlwise, and slip it off. On the back needle again, knitwise, but leave it on. And now again, so front needle, knitwise, and slip that stitch off, purlwise on the front needle, but leave it on. Purlwise through the stitch on the back needle, slip that stitch off, knitwise through the stitch on the back needle, and leave that stitch on. And you can see now here, if I hold it close, that it's starting to graft together. So front needle, knitwise, and slip that stitch off, purlwise on the next stitch on the front needle, and leave it on. Back needle, purlwise, and slip that stitch off, knitwise on the back needle, and leave that stitch on. Knitwise on the front needle, slip that stitch off, purlwise on the front needle, and leave that stitch on. Purlwise through the back needle, slip that stitch off, knitwise through the back needle, and leave that stitch on. And we're halfway through now. So knitwise through the front and slip that stitch off, purlwise through the front and leave it on. Purlwise through the back and slip that stitch off, knitwise through the back and leave the stitch on. Knitwise through the front, slip it off, purlwise through the front and leave it on. Purlwise through the back now, and slip it off, knitwise through the back and leave it on. Knitwise through the front, slip off, purlwise through the front, leave it on. Purlwise through the back now, slip it off, knitwise through the back and leave it on. Knitwise through the front, slip that off, purlwise through the front, leave it on. Purlwise through, oops, I've lost my needle now. Purlwise through that back stitch and then slip that stitch off, knitwise through the back stitch and leave it on. Knitwise through the front, slip off, purlwise through the front and leave it on. Purlwise through the back and slip it off, knitwise through the back and leave it on. And we're just about finished now. So last ones, knit through the front, slip it off, purl through the front and leave it on. Purl through the back slip off, knit through the back, leave it on. And now what we can do, because we've already thread our yarn through those stitches, is take them off the needles now. They're nice and secure, and all we need to do is sew that end in. So what I like to do is pop my needle through around here, and then you can pop your hand inside the sock and guide that through. And that's your toe grafted together. You'll want to give your yarn a little bit of a tug just to neaten things up. If you could see as I was doing it, then it was a little bit loose, and now that I've just pulled that, it looks really nice and neat. And now to finish off your sock, all you need to do is go ahead and sew in your ends. And once you've completed that, you have finished your sock, and you should find that it looks like this. So I hope you've enjoyed knitting that, and I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have, then please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next video, everyone. Bye, take care.